think I'm gonna change my audio buffer size. What am I talking about? Hey, we're doing a workshop on transitions. I'm being weird, but there is actually a real method to what we're doing. All right, my buffer size is good. What's happening, everybody? It's Friday, and that's not working for me. Today, we are gonna work on putting transitions in your tracks, which means little sections that allow you to bridge from one part of the song to another part of the song smoothly, so you don't have this discontinuous jump. I know you've heard music before where it's like it goes from the intro and like la la la, then like whoa, you get hit with the whole thing, but not in a good way. It's like there's no warning, it's unexpected, and something just like comes at you, and you're like, whoa, where did that come from? Transitions are how to avoid that problem. And another way of doing it is if you think of a live track or a live set where you're listening to music and you're jamming and you're like, you know, I just want to mute the kick drum for 4 beats and then unmute it again. So you're like, doof, 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 ba, 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 boof, 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 and you unmute it and the kick drum comes back in. That could be what we're talking about for transitions. So it doesn't have to be some big, huge thing. We're going to look at stuff like reverse cymbal crashes, risers, drum breaks, gaps mostly, and one really cool Ableton technique with the legato switch to allow some clips to keep going when you mute other ones to make a really cool little transition. So, as usual, I need to get my video up and make sure I can see your questions and comments, because I really like being able to interact with everybody out there when I'm in here in my studio putting my damn headphones on top of my hoodie. So let me know where you're at. Say hi so you can hear me. I mean, say hi and let me know you can hear me. Oh, Prifty Pradeep. So you said, you know, I was just today trying to figure out some new transition techniques. Well, what are the techniques you have? Tell me about what you know already, because that'll help me tell you stuff you don't know, I guess. If possible, if you could type it in. Hey, Radu's here. What's going on? All right, cool. And please tell me, let me pick out a good scene. Please tell me if you can hear the audio okay, all right? So if I'm talking like this and the beats are in like this, is the music too loud or is it okay? I think it's probably okay because it was yesterday, but why not type in a yes music or type in music okay or whatever, so I know that you can hear me and I can hear you. So that's that. And where do we start with transitions? Well, I guess I'll show you an example of not having a transition to illustrate the problem, right? Hey, we hear you loud and clear. All right, thanks, Radu. Nice to see you. Nice to hear you. Thanks for being here. So I guess I should review first. So to start, thanks, Prifty. It's good. To start with this escape the 8-bar loop process, I had an idea for music, right? So I made a bass line and I made some beats and I made some extra channels in the song, and I came up with a group of sounds. So we have a sub bass and kick drum. All the green stuff are drums and cymbals and stuff and build-ups. The blue stuff are my synth parts. And then in my mix world, I have the low elements down there, the drums and the instruments. So this gives me a picture of all the ingredients I need for a track. And when I go to build my song sections, I can just pick stuff. So I can be like, let me stop all my clips. So I can say something like, okay, I'm gonna pick a bass line, I'm gonna pick a kick drum loop, a drum break, and a cymbal thing. And when I launch all those clips, I get music. And that's fun, but I wanna be able to have more of a song structure. So what I did was I went through a whole thing about building a track. I make a few scenes for all the different sections, add a new sound with a new scene. We did the capture and insert command, and then ended up with this. So I've got intro, drop, build up, drop 2, a peak section where everything's gonna be happening, and then the after peak is like, you know, the section. Oh my God, please switch to Ableton Land. Thank you, Radu. Holy crap. That was dumb. I'm sorry, I forgot I didn't switch to Ableton Land. So you're just looking at me looking at my computer. That was dumb. All right, let me start over. So at the top of the session, I'm so glad you said that. At the top of the session, here are the clips, right? Kick bar, kick, drum, bass line. The green stuff is the beats. Synths are blue. I've got my bus groups for mixing and the mix groups. So like I was saying, I could pick a bass line and a kick drum part and a drum break and the cymbals and press play on all those. Launch those clips, and I've got the parts coming out. And I could do a show just by launching clips from session view in one little grid like this. If I really wanted to, I could just launch clips, make it into a performance, mute something, unmute it to bring it back in. And if people were listening, they don't have to know that I'm doing it clip by clip. They could just be in the audience, they hear music, and it's fun. And you know, Ableton was made to do that as a live performance tool, so you really could do that. But it was fun to see your studio set up as well. Thanks, yeah, thanks for being patient with me. You know, I'm not like a pro TV newscaster. So to go to the next step, every time I get a different combination of clips, I would use the capture and insert command to just make new combinations. So I could start with my intro like this. Corey Jones, what's happening? And then when I want to have a new sound come in, instead of firing an individual clip from a track, I can use the master scene and just launch scenes. So here's a build-up coming in. And then I can go to this drop. And I can work my way through the track by playing all these scenes in the master channel. Bassline comes in with a cymbal crash. I'm gonna go to the next scene and we're gonna hear this build-up come in. Hey, Aaron Zilch is here. What's up, man? And now we're gonna go directly to the next scene without any kind of transition. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we went into the breakdown. So we had this build-up sound announcing that something's gonna happen, there's like some energy growing, something's gonna change, and then we went into this breakdown scene. Let's check that out again, going from the breakdown back to the drop. So we're gonna hear... This track is our riser, functioning as like something happening to announce that something's gonna change. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're back in the drop. So now we're getting into that thing of how do I get a transition to get to the peak? I'm gonna go straight to the peak right now and it's gonna feel jagged. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the beat kept going, the melody came in, the sounds kept going. It wasn't a train wreck, it was synchronized. You know, this is digital stuff, so we're not like out of the groove. But let me show you how it sounds different if I insert this transition scene. And if you're down with what I've been doing in session view, you'll be able to see, like in this scene right here, we've got breakbeat, hi-hats, and our kick drum loop. The next scene down, no drums. This is how you make it sound like a little bit of a change, a little bit of something different, and watch what happens. So we're in the groove right here. We've got our cymbal crash, we've got our riser coming. I'm gonna let it play through, and then I'll hit the transition before we go to the next drop. Coming up. So there we go. And what happened was in the transition, the beats dropped out for just 1 bar, or you could do it 2 bars. And it made it like exaggerating the build up so that something's about to happen. And then when the drop happens, the kick drum comes back in and you feel like, we have arrived somewhere. And this is where it gets fun. If you notice, the melody did not start over when I was in this transition phase. And that's all about this legato switch. This allows you to continue a sound without restarting. And I'm gonna actually build another little scene to show you how cool this function is, because once you learn how to do this, you'll be able to use session view at a totally new level. And it's worth making an example. What am I doing? Go to right there. So here's a little loop. And loop, loop, loop. Pay attention to what happens at bar 8. Remember we were talking about making phrases where instead of just a 1-bar loop, the thing does something interesting at the end of the phrase. And while we're listening to that, so at the end of bar 8, it goes up to ba-da-bop, ba-da-bop. Now, if I want to have a transition thing, it's hard to, let's see. So here we are with the beat. If I want to have a scene where the beat drops out, it's going to restart the clip. Like that, but I don't want it to do that. So with the second clip, I'm going to turn on this legato switch in the launch window and make sure you're not using the legato switch in the notes box. That's going to change your note length. We don't want that one. We want this legato switch, which means the clip continues playing from the place you left off before. So to really, I don't want to waste your time either. So I'm going to start this one at bar 5. My goal here is to have the beat drop out on those high notes so that when it comes back in, I'll make a third scene. So when it comes back in, we're going to have the breakbeat come in and the kick drum. And the effect I want to have is that when the melody hits those high notes at the end of the phrase, the beat drops out to exaggerate that something's happening. So let's see if we can do this. When I get to bar 8, I want the beat to drop out, and I'm going to use a new scene to do that. I did not move the start marker. The clips have to be exactly the same. Let's try this one more time. And then we drop it back in and it starts. Now that was not completely accurate. This is going to work. The third time is going to be a charm. I'm serious. And then it starts over again. So what I did was I made a new scene so that I could have a whole place for a transition where the beat drops out, this clip continues, and we hear those high notes at the end of the melody without drums. So it's like exaggerating those high notes, the drums drop out, and then on the next scene, it would be the drop where the drums come back in and the clip starts over. So that was a little illustration, and I hope that made sense. What we're gonna do now is I'll play through one of these, and if you look at the legato switch down here, you can see that everything in this scene is going to have the legato switch on because I want all these clips to continue while the beats drop out. And it works the same for audio and for MIDI. So here we go. So I can go back and forth between these two scenes and have the beats kind of drop out and use this transition like a little, kind of like a landing pad to get to the next section. So let me know if this is making sense. Type in legato switch for me if that makes sense, legato. This is such a cool feature and it avoids that stutter feel. So while I'm waiting for you to type in legato, I'm gonna go to all these clips, turn off the legato switch and demonstrate how it just sounds a little bit wonky if you restart all those sounds in the transition. So here we go. Oops, they started over. And I didn't want it to start over like that because it messes up the continuity of the melody and the bass line. It takes you out of the groove and it just sounds like a mistake. So you select the clips in the gap, turn on the legato switch, and you can smoothly go through. Let me play a couple scenes and I'll delete my demonstration. And I'll show you like, you know, how is it? Okay, legato switch, it made sense. Thank you, Dan Pratt. Oh my God, hashtag legato switch. I'm gonna play through a couple of these scenes and show you how to make one of these. Lori Johnson on chat, looking for your live cast, not seeing it. Are you on? Yes, I am. It's in the Facebook group. I hope you can find it. Here we go. I'm going to play a few scenes and then show you how I make a transition with the legato switch. And once you see it, I think it'll make sense. Here we go. So we're in the after peak section. This is like a little rest after the peak, and we're ready for the beat. That's our riser channel. Hey Oscar, how you doing? And this loop thing is a long audio file, and I'm using the legato switch on this one already to play a really long file across multiple scenes. See, that just keeps on going. And right here, I want to have a break where the beats drop out. I get to this secret weapon, I want to have the beat drop out before the secret weapon switch. So here's how I make it. I fire that scene, I launch that scene, get everything going, then I go and mute the sounds that I don't want. So I mute the kick drum, I mute the breakbeat loop, mute this automated phaser, which are drums, and cymbals can keep going, and those things can keep going. Now I just select this and do Command-Shift-I, capture and insert, or duplicate on your push. And let's label this transition so I don't forget, because it's easy to forget if you just make a whole bunch of new scenes. We'll make it green so it's easy to find it. And now, don't forget to go through, select everything in that scene, and turn on the legato switch. You can see this is half selected, like some of them are on and some are off. And super double triple remember, we are using legato in the launch box, not the legato switch for MIDI notes. Where are some MIDI notes? How about over here? Nope. Derp. Okay, in the MIDI track, you have this option for legato. If I select this one and hit the round legato switch, oh, all my note lengths got too long. That's not what I meant at all. That could be cool, but that's not what we're doing. This legato switch makes your clip continue from wherever the last one left off. How does Ableton describe that? Legato switch takes over the play position from the previously playing slot in that track. Yeah, pretty much. And if you noticed when I was doing this, this riser sound, this is a really long file, right? Or I mean a really long loop. It's like, I did that resampling thing where I just played, a whole long thing. And all of my scenes, I've been going through 4 bars or 8 bars per scene. So if I don't have that legato on, every time I play the next scene, this riser is going to start over. And we're only going to hear that beginning section again and again and again. And I don't want that to happen. I want this riser to continue smoothly so that as I go through like 4 scenes, that might represent 32 bars of music. And I want to hear this whole loop all the way to the end, especially because the ending section is super cool. It does a fade out, right? I like that fade out. It's filtered, it's rhythmic, it's cool, it's doing something interesting. So I want to have, if you want to have a long audio file play through a bunch of different scenes, the legato switch lets you do that. So we just made a transition, we cut the beats out, and we legatoed our clips. Let's try this again. I'm going to go through all these and see what happens when we get to the bottom. So this is after our peak, waiting for the beat to come back. We'll go 2, 3, 4, boom. There's our kick drum. Now we're in this, what I call new sound, new scene. So when you're in the master channel, every time I launch a new scene, something interesting happens. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's what makes it so much fun to perform from session view, because you can just go through your master channel, launch scenes, and stuff happens. Notice this loop track has been going through, trucking right along, didn't miss anything. Now let's go to our transition here for the end of that riser. Cymbal crash. This guy keeps on going to the end. Let's put one more tiny, tiny little piece in there. 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. My mistake, didn't need that there. And now we're into the next phase of the track, Secret Weapons, which I think I'll change color so I recognize it's an actual section. And what's fun about transitions is you can kind of go backwards and play them again. And then go to your next song section. So a transition can be just like a little mini gap or interlude that you use between 2 other parts without even really planning on it. And you could cut up your track as much as you want, and it's always going to be interesting. So the transitions let you interrupt the flow, jump around song sections, have a gap that's kind of cool, let your risers come through, And you can stack them up full of all kinds of stuff, reverse cymbals, all kinds of stuff. Aha. That did not get labeled, but that was a transition also. So let me know if you have any questions about this. I don't want to make these workshops too long. I'm hoping to show you one simple technique that you can use. Here I am on camera. I'm glad I didn't do that whole video with me on camera instead of in live. The end result we're trying to get to is a track that you can go into session view and perform the whole thing going down the master channel and just launching scenes one by one. Oh, my feed froze. I hope this kept going for everybody in video land. I want to be able to open up the session, start with the intro, go down and have development where every time I launch a new scene, a new sound comes in, so it's adding energy, it's building up to something, we're arriving towards a peak, we've got drops, we've got breakdowns, all the stuff that has to happen in music is happening, and it's arranged in an organized way in the session view so that from top to bottom going downwards, we go through the progression of the track. And this is where it gets really fun, is that it's not frozen in place like it is in the timeline. You're not fixed to go through the same way every single time, because session view allows you to play scenes out of order. So you could start at the intro and go straight to the main drop if you want to. Or you could go, if you're at the end of the track and you're not ready to be done, you can just go to a previous drop and launch that scene. And the cool thing about transitions are they let you cut the beat, do a little bit of something different for a second, and then go to a new section, and it always sounds like it was right to go to that section instead of just going from the ending and then dropping to a full blast peak section with nothing in between. The value of cutting out the beat momentarily and putting it back in is, I cannot say enough how that's like the main thing you can do to make your tracks more interesting for any genre. I know you know this intuitively from listening to a bazillion electronic music tracks. If you're mixing on an analog board, you've got your tracks split out, you could just have like, have your finger on 2 mutes for bus groups, and you're rolling through, you get to a section, you mute it down, 1, 2, 3, 4, boom, and then you unmute it. Just the simple act of muting your drums and unmuting your drums can take a boring track and make it a great track. And then if you add in a cymbal crash when you unmute the drums, it gets even better. And if you have a riser that continues while the drums are muted, it gets even better. There's all kinds of stuff you can do to make your transitions interesting. I think one of my favorite things to do is take a synth that's already in the music and tweak it extra during the breakdown or the transition so that you're hearing a sound that's already part of the music. It's not like, everybody knows white noise risers. You go whoosh. Those are awesome, but it can also sound a little bit like, oh, they just pasted on a white noise riser on top. But if you have a synth that's going and you head into a transition and you tweak something, it's like, whoa, where did that come from? It was already in your ear before the transition, so it doesn't sound like it just came out of nowhere. I hope you all can still see this. My live feed seems to have frozen on playback, but my broadcast says I'm still going, so I'm gonna keep going. And there it is. I hope I didn't miss any tracks, comments. Let me know if you have a question or anything. It's about 12:26. So I'm gonna open up, let me save this. I'm gonna open up the session lesson from Escape the 8-Bar Loop Module 4. This is a guided Ableton project that I built to teach you how to make transitions inside an Ableton project. So there are several of these projects. The first ones are about loops and phrases, and then clip stacks where we combined all of our ideas into one place and made song sections, which were like these highlights on the side, the ending, the A section, whatever. And as soon as this opens up, you'll see a different piece of music with some different transitions, and it's inside a guided lesson. This is what you actually get when you open it up, and I'll show you where to get these in a minute. On the sidebar, there's some text that goes through what we're gonna do, which you can check that out on your own time later. And there's instructions built in here, for example, like this. Welcome to Module 4, Transitions. In this lesson, we'll connect our building blocks with transitions that lead from one song section to the next. And these are fun because I recorded instructions inside the project so you can go through it and watch it. If you're not watching me on video, you can have instructions in here. So let me give you some examples of this piece of music and hear how the transitions work. And you can see there's instructions that say play 8 bars of this scene. Ooh, different tempo. 2, 2. This is how I'm counting. 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 2, 2, 2. now you can see kind of the same layout. We've got our kick drum and bass line. We've got our synths over here and our drums over there, and they're coming over to bus groups. This is a nice layout to keep your tracks organized so you can always get your hand on the sound you want. Oh, Rado says, you didn't freeze, we saw everything. Oh, good, so that was only on my end. I thought so. Maybe someday you'll show us how you made that beautiful riser. Aha, resampling. So here's a scene where I want to cut out some of the stuff and make a transition. So let's do that, coming up right here. The melody continued. A couple things dropped out, just the kick drum, and we went to a new section. Let me play another example. I would like to play through this whole track and just groove on the music, but I don't want to make you sit there forever. So I'm going to play this scene, and from drop 2, I'm going to go to the peak, and we'll hear how it's kind of jumpy without the transition, right? Build up. Lots of risers and effects and stuff. And we got to this peak thing. I don't know if that worked for me. Let's do it again with the transition and see if it feels like it flows a little bit better. What's in our transition scene? Our bass line. Is the kick drum there? No. Keyboard solo. Is keyboard going to continue? Yes. Does keyboard have legato switch on? No. Maybe it should. Let's find out why I didn't do that. And we've got this build-up sound happening. The blast-off sound is happening. All right. So, oh, I think I know why. I think it was part of this lesson to go through and you have to actually turn on the legato switch as an activity because these are built with instructions and activities. Okay, so let me go through that. 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 3, 4, 6, 2, 3, 4, 7, 2, 3, 4, 8, 2, 3, 4. And then we get into the peak. Yeah, this is an activity session, so you are going to go through the live pack, check the transitions, and turn on legato switches yourself as part of an activity. So what does Rolf say? Show us the house style you were working on. Not sure which track you're talking about. Maybe that was the one 126 BPM, I think was called Black Dust last month. If you could give me a little better definition of which track you're talking about, I can show you more. And Radu, I will show you how I build that build up with resampling from a sound. Let me finish a little promo on how you can get a hold of this. This is a module from Escape the 8-Bar Loop, and it's over here on the members site. So when you get to the main site, you'll see this this window is going to be open with a little intro thing, and you can watch the video if you want, or you could go straight to Escape the 8-Bar Loop. And because we are all in quarantine lockdown and we have tons of time to do creative work, I made this available for pay what you want, because I want you to grab this course, take it, use it, make some music, share it in the Facebook group with us, and spend some time doing something creative. It's really important to do that right now. Do not sit around being bummed out and stressed out. I know I get stressed out too, but you can grab it right here. You can do a pay by the month thing. You can do a $0 and donate on Patreon or something if you want to do it that way. There's a Patreon link up at the top. You could even sign up for $3 a month or type in your own choice amount, $5 a month or whatever. View the public page. And you will be able to download a series of live packs that open up with instructions, examples, and activities inside the Ableton project, which makes it so simple to learn by doing it. You don't have to watch me on video. You don't have to press pause on YouTube. You don't have to try and reconstruct the whole session in your own Ableton. You get to actually download the project and play with it right there inside Live. So that's Patreon. I'm sure you can figure that out because you're smart. And let me go back to Cameraland. The cool thing about these projects is that you get to play with the music as you're learning about it. So there's instructions in there. There's a little bit of automation sometimes to show you how something works. And then there's blank spaces for you to do the activity, just like I'm doing it now. So you click the legato switch. You launch the scenes. You hear it come out. If you're confused, you can stop and check the directions again. If you're having fun, you can keep going. Some of the lessons have empty space where you can just add tracks and add new sounds and actually make music with it. So I think it's the best way to learn Ableton production because it gets you involved on your music machine without even needing the internet. You download it, you can close your whole browser. You don't have to press pause on YouTube. You don't have to wonder about some guy with different plugins or how did they do that, because it's all right there. You can completely reverse engineer everything I did, and it's dead simple. It could not be easier. So I want you to grab that and play with it. I'm waiting for an answer on Rolf on that house style track, and for Radu and sound design. I might have to open up a previous session. How did I... That sound came from an accident where I was playing a MIDI clip and a bassline synth, and I had the synth down, or the MIDI clip was like down at like the -3 octave, so it was making this click sound, and I thought, oh, that's a weird click. What if I put that into an echo? Yeah, I put the clip into an echo with reverb on it, and then tons of delay, and it made it come out like that. So that's what I was doing, and since it's only 12:30, let's go for it, and let me open up that session again. No, I'm going to open up a completely new session. Let's get crazy. And how's everybody doing? Let me know how you're feeling, what's happening in your life. I've been spending a lot of time at home. I go out for a bike ride every day to go and get some fresh air, and you know, you got to avoid other people and all this stuff. It's so weird. It's so weird. It feels like, even I saw this person walking their dog from across the sidewalk. And I just looked at him, we said, hey, how you doing? Is that a puppy? You know, whatever. We talked for just a couple minutes, or not even a minute or less, while they were waiting to cross the street. And that one little minute of talking to a person about the weather and their dog, for me, it felt like more important than an hour conversation with somebody on the phone used to feel like. It's strange that human relationships are getting magnified. Like any contact we have feels better than usual, which is sort of an interesting thing. I don't really like it, but it's cool to notice that everybody seems like they're appreciating contact more. I guess I'll say it like that. Oh, Dan said, after this, making a pilgrimage to the grocery store. I hope I survive it. Yeah, man, for the first time in my life in Pittsburgh, I saw a guy in line at the grocery store, a civilian he was armed with a handgun on his belt, like in line buying groceries. I was like, dude. Okay, well, we're done with the transitions workshop. If you want to do more, grab that live pack from the member site, Escape the 8-Bar Loop. Oh, Rolf says you need Ableton 977 for the lessons, which I don't have. Oh, bummer. Wow, people are getting fined for going and do some sound. Yeah. Maybe I'll do 2 of those. What if we go down even more? There we go. How did I do that? I selected the notes. I did a key command shift, a keyboard shortcut, shift command down arrow to go down a MIDI octave. And that's pretty cool. Is that? Okay, notice that the click is happening because what we're hearing is actually individual waveforms of this oscillator. Because it's so slow, we're basically hearing an LFO click individually instead of hearing pitch. What does that sound like if we do a square wave? Oh, this is a great illustration of waveforms. Sine wave is a nice soft round shape, so you don't really hear it. Sawtooth wave, you get a nice click. Square wave is buzzier. So let's keep it on the sawtooth wave. I want a little bit more volume out of there. And I have a feeling I'm going to want to crush this. Super short attack time. Oh, where'd my attack go? And I'm going to be fooling around a little bit, so it's... And I think I want to put in a high-pass filter. Because most risers, you don't want a lot of bass in them. Ooh. Oh, that's getting more and more fun. I love it. And I used the Echo plugin because I love the feeling of reverb on there and the feedback it has. So I went up to like this. Audio out is going to go to resampling from here, and let's send the audio from this channel to resampling. Bye bye MIDI track, bye bye other track. I don't like that red color. This is what it's like inside my head. I see over here it's like orange, red, orange, too much red. So now we've got our sound. Oh, I can't hear it. What happened? I broke my Ableton session. Oh no, well I didn't really break it. All I have to do is set this to monitor input, and I like to disable all my external inputs just so we're not taking up RAM. Chad Brooks, yes, these are automatically going to go to replay on the YouTube channel and in the Facebook group, so you can definitely... Holy crap, am I still in there? I am a dumbass. Radu, where would I be without you? I should have looked at that 5 hours ago. The whole thing I just did wasn't viewable. We need a buzzer. We need a way for, like, if I'm making a mistake like that, you guys could like hit that button like on The Simpsons and they get to electrocute each other. My chair will go like and I'll like get noticed. Maybe I should just stop screen sharing or stop going on camera and only do screen share. So really sorry. So I dropped an analog instrument and I made a MIDI clip and I selected notes. When I was doing the octave shift, I was bringing them way back down to a bottom octave. And then I changed this waveform. Sine wave, you cannot even really hear it. It's not making any... So what we're hearing now is like the distortion in the upper harmonics, not the actual bass pitch because it's too low. It's like sub audio. I turned up some resonance and brought my filter down. And when I brought that down, I got this, found that, hey, there's a pretty cool filter envelope happening on there. Then we dropped the Echo plugin on our delay return. We made a new audio track for resampling. I set up my audio routing to go resampling over to here. The output of the Echo effect. So now when I go to the resampling, it's going to be a process where I'm going to start like this. And then I'm going to turn this up. And then I'm going to turn this up. And then we're going to start going. But I know from experience that feedback can get crazy loud. So exactly what I did was I dropped EQ8. I want to protect my little ears. I got my presets were a couple of frequencies that I know I always want to dip out. So let's take out a bunch of frequencies around 3.5K so it doesn't get too piercing. I want some compression after this plugin so when it starts to get crazy loud, it's not going to clip all my speakers. And now, let's just do a test run, what the heck. And I'm doing this all on mouse click and everything because not everybody has push and I just want to show you how to actually do it. So let's arm a new clip. Everything looks like it's working. There we go. We're going to let it slowly build up and just saturate like crazy. This is where it's taking off. And then we mute the dry. And when we're ready for it to come down, this filter. Like that. And if I planned that right, I know that's not exactly the same sound we heard in the other track, but let's see what we got. Aha. It builds up, it goes through, it fades down. About 32 bars, so if you wanted to launch this clip during a chunk of music, you could have it start for 8 bars, go for like 16 bars in the middle when the beats drop out, and then at the last 8 bars, have the beat drop back in and have this ending piece continue in the next section of the song. And remember, this is not 120 BPM. Like, it's kind of on the beat, but it's in and out. It's pushing and pulling against the beat. I know you noticed that triplet rhythm, Radu. Dan Pratt, mind blown. Yeah, my mind is blown at how I can talk for an hour and not realize I'm on camera instead of showing you screen share. Durr. So there I muted the dry signal, and now we have this big, fat, beautiful worm of distortion. Thanks to the Echo plugin. And I'll go back and review the filter section of the Echo plugin because that made it interesting. Around here it gets darker, it fades out. It feels like it's going back into the background. Isn't there a Gorillaz track that ends like this? And that actually got pretty bassy at the end, right? So what did I do to manipulate that sound? It's easy to miss this, but expand the filter section, and you want that to be turned on, and we had, whoopsie, a bandpass filter. So the lows were, high pass filter down to here, low pass filter that I was lowering the frequency at once while also raising the resonance. And I really did that by hand to make sure it didn't get, you go the right speed, make it feel like you want it to feel and not get too much of a resonant peak. If we didn't have this in here, it would have gotten real shrill, like so dipping out 4,000 hertz will protect your ears from a very sensitive spot. 3K, 4K, that's where, a smoke alarm is going to ring, or the alarm clock, or a whistle, like beep, 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 like that really piercing frequency. Just duck that out. You don't need that. And then the glue compressor was really helpful because this sound, when you take off after 100% feedback, it just amplifies and can get crazy loud and turn it into wave distortion. And we wanted to keep that under control. So those are a couple little secrets. And to get a really cool riser, we had to do a couple things at once. So we played the sound first, then we let it go, and then I turned up the effect. So it got into the echo. We just let that roll for a little bit. Then I turned up the feedback, and once it started distorting and taking off, I took the dry signal out. That's another step. And then finally, when I was ready for it to be done, I rolled down the low pass filter to bring it to a close or bring it to an ending. And fortunately, by some miracle, that all happened over about 32 bars. I wasn't counting, but it was nice that happened. So for the last time, I'm going back to Cameraland. That was a cool question, Radu. I'm glad you asked that. That was fun to show you, and I think pretty much anybody could do that. If you don't have the Echo plugin, you can still use, you can take the regular delay, turn the feedback up all the way, and then manually add another distortion plugin afterwards and dial in the distortion or saturator or dynamic tube or something to get that fuzz happening. You can still do it. It just takes another step of distortion, or the pedal plugin maybe. And I hope some of the stuff about transitions was able to transition from my brain to your brain. Oh, they're so much fun. Once you get a session built with transition scenes in there, it literally becomes unlimited. You can play your track as long as you want. You can go from the intro, hit the transition before the peak, and go right to the peak, and it's going to still sound good because the transition gives you a little clue, something's changing, something new is coming in, and it leads you like a little bridge to the next main section. You can go through your song fluidly. You can rearrange the sections. So, and this really works well. Like, let's say I'm playing like this, and there's people out here in the audience, and I'm like, I'm connected on my tech, but really what I'm doing is, like, I don't know if you can see me, but it's the difference from this. Like, when I'm teaching, I'm like mouse clicking and looking down at here, but when you're performing, your attention is here, like beyond the DJ booth, looking at the people in front of you. And if they're having a reaction that's really good, you don't want to get to the end of your song and stop. Like, why would you do that if everybody's really in the groove? Or if you have a soloist with you and you're in one section that's really good, maybe you want them to take another whole 8 bars to let their solo come up to the full development, or anything like that. There are a lot of times when you're performing when you just need your song to keep going a little bit longer before you go to the next section. Live musicians do this absolutely intuitively. You know, someone's playing a guitar solo, you keep going. Somebody's doing a really cool thing, you keep going, and then you'll see in jazz performances, if the front person goes like this, like back to the head, like we're coming back to the beginning, we're going to start the main melody, we're coming back to the beginning of the song, and they just do it like telepathically because they know, okay, we all feel it, it's time to start over, come back to the return, and give people the recognizable intro again, whatever. So this is a way of using Ableton sort of like that improvisational format, where one scene could be like the main thing you're doing, and then your variation scenes have other clips, other layers, other drums, other sounds, and you want to move between them to construct an experience for your audience that is always interesting, it's fun for them, it feels fresh, it's fun for you, and when you're having fun improvising, your music is going to sound like a person who's having fun, and that's what keeps it interesting. You don't want to ever be bored with your own tracks, because just like a performer who's up there going, happy birthday to you, for like the 9 millionth time, you don't want to be bored because your audience is going to be bored. Keep it alive, keep it fresh, give yourself a couple things to tweak parameter-wise, and that's my advice to you on how to perform from Session View. Next time, I guess it's going to be tomorrow or Sunday, we'll look at how to take this whole thing in Session View, look at some effects, and then record it into the timeline. Because you don't have to stay in Session View. You can get it into the timeline, do your final mix automation, and create a perfect studio version of your track. And this is really cool. Like, back in the original days of hardware, if you had a drum machine and a synth and another synth and an effects unit, you are going to be recording onto a 2-track recorder, which means you press play and it's live. Whatever you do is going to be the song, and there was no chance to edit later except for basic edits of like literally cut the tape and make the sections move, or do your mastering where you could be like, okay, we're going to EQ it and compress it, and then that's going to be the version. That's really how people made records. You had to practice a lot. You would practice your moves, practice your effect sweeps, like what I was doing with making that build up. You would have to practice that. Be like, okay, first we turn up the send, then we go here, we go to the echo, turn up the feedback. Okay, now get ready, we're going to filter it. Okay, now cut it back down. Like, you would have to practice your mix moves to be able to do it repeatedly, because that's the only way. There was no automation, there was no anything like that. Now we have this amazing advantage where we can build in Session View this whole thing to improvise with, fool around with different scenes, improvise the song form, tweak the effects, but there's no danger of making a mistake, because you can still record the whole performance into the arrangement and have a last chance to do automation, fix your mistakes, delete one thing that went on too long, maybe add in another little cymbal crash if you feel like you need another one, and then export your mix for mastering. So we have the best of both worlds. Literally, you can improvise, you can perform, you can be fluid, you can have fun, and you get all that hyper detailed level of control from automation at the end, which is so cool. That's what it's all about. I don't see any more questions coming in. I hope my screen didn't freeze up and make me miss comments, because I do like answering questions. But it's almost been an hour, so I'm going to break it off for right now. See you on the weekend, and let me know how you're doing. If you have any questions, type them in. I'll get to them in the Facebook group. Anybody on YouTube, subscribe to the channel and then come to the Facebook group. I haven't even commented on any tracks this week. I'm behind on that. And thanks for watching, everybody. You all make me feel connected, even though we're in quarantine. So let's keep that going. All right, catch you next time. And broadcast.